2, 1, go.
Hello. This is Ignacy and Portal Games, and this is...
This is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 217, and we're recording it on November 17th, 2021. Some people are in Dallas, Texas. Some people are not. And Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And just how much Tom Vassell can I stand? I was with him all last week at the Dice Tower retreat, the whole week. And now the whole week again at BGG-Con. What am I doing? Am I going to move in with him or something? I mean, this is guy crazy.
You are challenging yourself, like you are giving you like a super hard challenge to stand him. Like, I appreciate you. I respect you.
There you go. But yeah, we're going to talk a lot about conventions and Ignacy not being here and me teasing him yesterday a little bit.
I'm in the state that I would prefer you to discuss Florida weather than you discuss how fun you have in Dallas.
That's great. Before we get into all of that, please tell us what's going on at Portal Games.
At Portal Games, obviously, this is a slower part of the year. All the releases are released. The things that we are developing and designing are top secret and confidential. We'll announce them on January 22nd at PortalCon. So slower period of time. What's happening? I started to experimenting with the content for fans of the board games, and I'm dropping you the question if it may be interesting for you guys. I wrote a strategy guide for detective, and I don't know if you, Stephen, remember back then for video games it was quite popular that people were reading strategy guides how to win this particular video game, and that was a thing. And I'm not sure if this is a popular content in board games, and it is very interesting if people would be interested in learning strategy guide, how to win Terra Mystica, how to be better in Castles of Burgundy, like reading training strategy.
I remember all of that stuff. That yes, and like CCGs especially, right? Because it's a very big focused kind of group, right?
So to be better,
right? I want to get better at Magic the Gathering. I remember reading how a strategy guide for Vampire: The Eternal Struggle, right? The other Richard Garfield CCG that was out, and I remember upping my game by doing so. It's interesting that you're going to be doing it now.
Yeah, so I wrote the first one, the strategy guide how to win a detective, and I'm super eager for all of you, for our listeners, to give me some feedback on my Facebook page or on my website. If you read it, if you learned something, if it is something interesting for you, if you want more of that, because I think this is quite a new content in these days. So this was happening in terms of the news of the week. In terms of the brag of the week, I started 2 days ago. Beware, Stephen. Now beware. It is very important.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm on TikTok.
You're not on TikTok.
I am.
What are you going to do? You're going to dance on TikTok? What are you going to do?
Oh my God. If you know how silly I can be, TikTok is my place to be the silliest person on the TikTok. For now I did 3 videos and I'm enjoying it. So guys, if you are on TikTok, find me at Portal Games US. It was account run before by Danielle, but now I joined her and we are running this account together. One day Danielle is posting, one day I'm posting. So if you want to see silly Ignacy, this is TikTok, Portal Games US, and now, as always, I'm the cool kid on the block. Correct?
I just want to see one of your videos. I want to see you and Danielle dancing like back and forth, like because you're in different countries, so she can do a little dance and you can do it, and you go back and forth in the video. I love it. Do it.
That's a good idea. My pre-orders, my street dates on 25th, which is like a day after this episode drops, I believe. On 25th of November, we are starting Black Friday. So as always, is a last call to buy the Christmas gifts for you, for your family. Go to portalgamesus.com and you will see insane discounts that make me cry that we are giving you these discounts. But yes, have fun, buy these amazing games: Vienna Connection, Dune, Dreadful Circus, Pet Officers, Neuroshima Hex, all these amazing games that I'm mentioning in this podcast, and now it's time to finally buy some gifts. I remember that a couple of weeks ago we had a question from our listener was the ROI of this podcast, how much we see the increase of the sales.
ROI, yes.
Guys, this is your time to prove that there is something like that in this podcast. Besides silliness, please, all the followers of our listeners, this is your time to show me that, yes, you support us and you support the podcast. So drop to portalgamesus.com and do some amazing purchases during the Black Friday sale. And we will see if there is a ROI of this podcast. What's happening in HQ? Because I said it is a slower time in the office, so I have more time for social media. So I became super active on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. So please, if you haven't visited our social profiles for a while, like you weren't following me on Twitter, if you were not on our Facebook, check them out. There's a ton of fun, interesting content that I'm posting. So I'm overactive right now. Steven is having fun at conventions. I'm bored to death in my office, so I'm just posting funny videos and pictures. So check it out. I just posted, Steven, you can check it right now if you have a chance, a picture from my office on Twitter just before recording. But I posted it on the Facebook groups of Steven. You will not find it, but I will send it to Twitter later. Sorry, but check it out. So yes, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm all over the place, so check me out. And my video of the week, my recommendation, my experiment is still ongoing. 100 videos for 100 days, and I want to recommend the most video from the past few days. It is called "My Convention Demons," and it was Ignacy whining and complaining on players for 20 minutes straight. So if you like Slavic Ignacy, if you like me complaining on you, this is a video for you. 20 minutes of me yelling at players for their sins, and I'm in this video very dark person. It was my recommendation. This was happening. So basically, slowly, last call to action, Black Friday, please visit Portal Games US and do some good stuff, and then check TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. I'm all over the place because I want to be with you, because I cannot be at BGGCon.
Yeah.
Now the fun stuff.
Now some of the fun stuff. I'll start with the not fun stuff. My remodeling. You know, we have these like highs and these lows constantly going on. Everything we are finding out now is going to be delayed again. So my outdoor kitchen, you know, the big barbecue and bar I'm putting out there, the granite is delayed. The installation is delayed. On the remodeling upstairs, we were supposed to get all the doors and all of the moldings and everything in, and half of them didn't come in. Had 500 linear feet of moldings didn't come in. Just they're back ordered. I was like, how is that possible? I made this order in September, and now they're just telling us it's delayed. So we don't even know when we're going to be getting things at this point. This is going to be going on, you know, easily into December at this point. I want everybody out of my house. I just want people out of my house. So there you go, Ignacy. I'm complaining.
I'm disappointed because I imagined that when you will be complaining on this, it will be so funny, but you said it in the way that it makes me sad. So you make Ignacy sad.
All right, then you're going to just be real sad as I talk about how great a time that we're having. Paula and I were up at the Dice Tower Retreat in Orlando, Florida, and that was all last week. I said that at the beginning of the show. Had such a good time. You know, Orlando is great on so many levels. You know, if you want, you go to Disney and do all that, but there's so many like fun, interesting restaurants to go to and places to see. And of course, we're all there at the location that they normally do Dice Tower East. So it's a resort, and Ignacy's been there, and it's phenomenal, the place. They just unbeknownst to me and anybody, they've remodeled all the rooms. Now, the Caribe Royale Resort is an all suites hotel. So every room is huge. They've got a sleeping area, bathroom area, sitting area. They were in the past a little dark, the rooms, you know, it was that kind of old looking room aesthetic. Guess what? They just put 100, and they're in the process of putting $117 million in renovations. I don't even know how you make up that kind of money, but literally that's the number they quote. The room we were in, which would be the exact same room as we were the last time we were there, unbelievable. Like, in other words, it had all of the touches that like we're doing in our house. Grays, whites, and blues. That's kind of the new way of the people are kind of designing the base of their home. And then you add color after that. Had all of that. Like sliding doors on the bathroom, not like opening doors and things like that. Just the lighting fixtures and the way it's all laid out. Modern, beautiful, and brand new. We could have been one of the first people that have ever stayed, in that room. So everybody just was gushing over the hotel. And of course, the gaming was great. I played a couple of games that I got to mention that were just so much fun. First of all, Foundations of Rome. Do you know what that one is, Ignacy? Arcane Wonders. Arcane Wonders.
Yeah, but I was thinking Emerson. This Emerson game?
Yes, it's from Emerson. Emerson Matsushita. I can't pronounce his last name.
I haven't played it yet, but of course I know the game. Yeah.
Yes. So that was Kickstarted. It made millions of dollars on Kickstarter. It's not out yet, but Robert Geislinger, who's the US rep for Arcane One, he's the global sales agent for Arcane. He had a copy there. There's like 3 copies that came out of China. The box, by the way, you have to see the video of what I'm holding, like, how my hands are being held here. The box is a full Kallax shelf. I don't mean in like 2 dimensions, like, the Kallax shelves are like 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters, right? 12 and a half by 12 and a half. That's how much size you get inside, but they're much deeper than 12 inches. They're like 18 inches deep. It's the entire thing. I actually took a Ticket to Ride size box, and I kind of measured how many Ticket to Ride size boxes it was. 6. The equivalent of 6 standard games. That's how big this box is. Insane. And it's all loaded. It's loaded with plastic buildings. Each player has got a same set of plastic buildings that they're going to be playing on the communal board to build Rome. And then, and it goes up to 5 players, at least if you get the 5-player expansion, which we had there. And then there are a set of monuments that you can build. Like, you can build the Colosseum, you can build Circus Maximus, you can build the Temple to Neptune, all of these things. And you're building them on the center board, claiming lots on the board, the way that you do in like a choir. You claim like A1, J7, and you keep claiming them. And then you take your buildings and you put them there to score, to either increase your commerce or to increase your population. And there's various ways to score. It's a great game. At first I played it, I said, this is very good. Played it a second time, I said, oh my God, this is great. But every time I sat down, I'm like, the production is ridiculous. I can't gush more about this. If you get the base level, I think it's $100. It's so worth that. I told Robert, I'm like, Robert, I have to have this. How do I get one? I'm paying you, but how do I get one? He goes, just send me an email. He's going to have extras. It's not going into retail. Going into retail. So you can't get it. It was only Kickstarter. So if you get a chance to play this, Emerson, I texted Emerson. I said, dude, home run. What a great game. So I also played Picture Perfect again by Arcane Wonders. This is the game where, I mean, it basically encourages like social media sharing, because at the end of the game, you take a picture of what you've done, which is put little standee people next to each other or not next to each other around a table at like a wedding or an affair, and you take the picture, and each person has a preference. Oh, I don't want to stand next to that person. Oh, I don't want to see that person's face in the picture, and I want to be in the front row of the picture. You have all of these things, and you have to score the most points based on the knowledge you have of all of the different people. Very innovative, very different.
This game was play tested in real life at the weddings.
Yeah, that's right. Play tested in real life. Exactly. Other highlights. Nidvalier. I can't even pronounce that name, and I can't even spell that game. Very interesting take on auctioning.
Set collection.
Yeah, and auctioning with discrete tokens that you have. interesting. Wasn't one of my favorites, but still very, very solid game. I played an 8-player game of Captain Sonar. I think that game is just so good. When you can get a full boat, very funny pun, if you get a full 8 players, 4 against 4, and you're chasing each other in subs and trying to kill each other. Played 2 games, won 1, lost 1. Fantastic.
It has a similar vibe to your old Space Cadets, right? The team versus team from the Stronghold games.
Similar
vibe to Space Cadets from Jeff and Galstein.
Space Cadets. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I said. Yeah.
I mean, in the team versus team thing, we did Space Cadets Dice Duel. Yes. So in that regard, you're correct, where you have a team versus team, and you're trying to shoot at each other and drop mines. But you see each other on the board in that game. In this game, you don't, because you have a screen between the 2 teams, and you're trying like cat and mouse. I'm going here, and then you can use your sonar, or you can send out a drone, and you get information. That's when it stops the real time. It's really, really fun, and that was great. Last thing I'll mention is Dark Moon, my game back in the day. Played again because somebody wanted to play BSG but couldn't get players to commit to 3-hour games. It want to do Dark Moon, we can play it in an hour. They're like, yeah. So we played that, and the bad guys destroyed us very quickly.
Oh.
After we leave, so now we're here at BGG Con. Literally, I got here yesterday, so the con hasn't even started yet. Today we're going over to the JFK Memorial, which is just blocks from here. You know, we're in downtown Dallas now. In the past, most of these were done at the airport Hyatt. Now we're at the downtown Hyatt Regency, going to the JFK Memorial. It's a really interesting place, especially with people like American history. And then the con is going to roll and start. This is this is a great one. This is going to be 2,000 people. So now we're back to getting bigger things. Dice Tower Retreat, 200 people. This con, 2,000 people. The exhibitors are here in smaller numbers than usual, of course, for this year. But they're almost as big, not quite. They're a little more than half of what they normally would be, I think, on a regular year. And yes, Ignacy, sorry, we will take lots of pictures, post them about how much fun we're having.
Yeah, I said it many times that BGGCon is my favorite show of the year, and on so many levels. On the fact that it is just gaming, because it is end of the year and there's no stress that publisher has on the regular shows. There is no the big logistics problem with the product because you don't have a booth, or you have a very small booth. Like on every single level, this is amazing show. My absolutely favorite. I tried to come, but still problems with the COVID here and borders, testing, etc. So I decided with Mary that we will give up this year, but definitely we are not. We are coming next year, that's for sure.
Good. Excellent. And I think now, Ignacy, we got to get on to the event deck. So we have a lot of news about that ransomware attack and its effects on the industry. And if you recall from last episode, Alliance, who is the largest, give or take, hobby board game distributor in North America, reported that they were hit with a ransomware attack, which we reported that FFG Keyforge was hit a month before that. So now they're reporting an update. In fact, they had 2 updates within the last week. And so I'm gonna briefly talk about each one. But Diamond Comic Distributors and Alliance Game Distributors, it's basically one company, have partially recovered from the ransomware attack that hit them on Friday. I don't remember what Friday that was. It was the 5th, I believe, of November, and which took down their websites and disrupting their operations. Both companies are shipping new releases this week, but delays may continue. Diamond and Alliance both have their main websites back up, and Diamond also set up a special website for updates about the attack. Yesterday's update stated that Diamond Comic Distributors products were supposed to go on sale that day, would instead be arriving in the next 2 to 4 days. Diamond is picking and packing initial orders with November 17th on sale date, street date. We'll update retailers early next week about any delays. Invoicing was planned for yesterday and today. The company estimates that it would begin picking reorders and Diamond book distributor orders on Friday and Saturday. So they're coming back online as of that article, which was on November 11th, a week ago. And then they gave another one as of just 2 days ago. And they state that both Diamond comic distributors and Alliance game distributors have further updates. Diamond emailed retailers to say that they expect shipments throughout the week of products scheduled to go on sale on November 11th. All retailers should receive their shipments by Friday the 19th. So it sounds like they're getting very close to being back online. On its update page, Diamond also stated that UPS shipments will be delayed by 24 to 72 hours, and LTL shipments, that means less than container load shipments, that's when you're really getting, a pallet of games or several pallets of games, will be delayed by 24 to 48 hours. UPS shipments will appear in the shipment tracking area of Diamond's retailer website, etc. So good news that they're coming back online. Bad news that we have to report crazy stuff like this. And Ignacy, I think we were made it clear that last time, who would have thought just 5 years ago, a few years ago, right, that we would ever be talking about hackers from overseas. This doesn't occur within the United States, that they go after US companies. Hackers from overseas are getting into game publishers, and game distributors. It's crazy.
I think you are making a super interesting point, and I agree that if somebody give us this episode and we have this episode 5 years ago, we would be surprised how the industry changed, because on daily basis, on a weekly basis, we see, okay, this is all the same stuff, all the same news, new games, new gamma drama, etc., etc. But no, the gravity of some news are very, very different to think that we were discussing 5 years ago in this podcast. So yeah, this is changing, and maybe we don't see it every single week, but when you put it in this perspective, we never covered like stories like that in the whole history of the podcast. And
Sure.
Now the new environment, new world for us.
It's like the new world, right? This is the
Yeah.
way that the world is going to work. And we in this industry has gotten big enough that that everybody's got to take this kind of stuff very seriously. So now, that was getting better news. Now we have some good news on the supply chain congestion. Container rates are dropping. Fees help push products out of port. Some good news on the port congestion that's been causing stockouts and price increases, especially on tabletop games sourced from China, has turned up recently. Spot rates on containers from China have dropped to $13,924, according to FBX numbers reported by the Lodestar. That's a far cry from the $35,000 number we've heard from multiple game companies over the past few months. The drop is primarily seasonal, as holiday goods are already en route or delivered, according to the report, but still represents welcome respite for companies who have new titles or reprints in the pipeline. Meanwhile, at the Port of Los Angeles, a decision to implement fines for cargo containers not moved out of the port in a reasonable time is starting to help clear the clogged port, according to CNBC. The fines imposed for truck freight left for 9 or more days or rail freight left for more than 6 kicked off on November 1st. They begin at $100 per day and then go up in $100 increments per container per day. Well, the first comment on the bottom part. So, and those containers are obviously off of the trucking companies. Those they got to clear this stuff out. They can't just let it sit there. That hurts the entire system. I found that the numbers of these fines are ridiculously small. If they want to be serious about it, start finding people some real numbers. If this is part of the integral problem, why isn't it $1,000 per day or more to the trucking companies? They're going to put them out of business because they get hit with fines. Get the containers moving. It's your job to do that if you're not doing it. So I found that crappy. But this is the other part of it, of course, is that, we are now in the slower. We're coming into the slow season, not in the slow season, but we're coming into that for importation of goods, because everything should be here by now to make Black Friday, of course, and or even like later to just make Christmas. So container prices are coming down due to the seasonal trends that we see all the time. But $13,000, almost $14,000 average, you know, for the one that was quoted here, that's still 3 times higher than it was just a few years ago at this time of the year. Ignacy, have you, it's not obviously what you do, but one of your guys obviously has to track this stuff closely. Have you been seeing the changes already?
As you said, I'm not doing this in the company, so I don't know details. However, I was part of the discussion this week about shipment that we planned for the February. So once I have to give the picture, because I'm on the mission here in this podcast, trying to be sometimes silly and sometimes to educate, to help players understand the difficulty of being a publisher. And what you guys heard right now is that these prices of containers vary during a year, and they now dropped down. And as Stephen already teased you, they will go up in February, just before Chinese New Year, when everybody wants to move stuff from China before the whole China will be shut down for the holiday, correct? So now when you produce the game, and if you for some reasons have a delay that is like 2, 3, 4 weeks, you will have a completely different prices on shipping. And as Steven just told you the numbers, these are like a huge differences. One time you pay 15,000, one time you play 20,000, one time you play 30,000. So once again, to show you, I always want you to understand that these Kickstarter creators, these publishers, we are dealing with so many variables and so many different conditions. And sometimes when you see increase of the price or some delay, it is not because we want to do it. It is just what's happening in the industry. And this is like perfect, clear example. The price in October was high because everybody wanted to ship before Christmas. The price in the December will be lower because nobody cares now about shipping. And the price in the late January, early February will be super high because everybody wants to move the stuff from the China before Chinese New Year. And now please be publisher and predict when you will have your product ready to ship, because it will completely vary on the prices. So as I always say, I have a full-time employee, Damian, who is only logistics, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. He's just tracking the containers, tracking when he's shipping what, which manufacturer finishes production, when it is ready. 8 hours a day, one dude is just doing that. He's insane.
That is you are, you know, doing so well, and you have so many products that are coming out as new products, and you have the ones that are evergreen that you want to reprint and get those back out. You need a full-time guy on logistics. You know, obviously I never had that. I had me on logistics. And then, you know, during the merged company, it was me and Travis both, you know, tracking our stuff, you know, independently for the two divisions of the company. But it's a, you know, we make jokes. It's a logistical nightmare. Truly, figuratively, literally, logistical nightmare to keep track of this. And now with these costs, in the way that we discussed it, as far as like Steve Jackson Games CEO, COO, Phil Reed said in an interview a week ago that it could be an existential, the existence of a company could go away if this does not come back in a better way at some point, you know, soon being like, you know, next year or the year after. Stay tuned. So more bad news, sadly, in the industry, but I think that it's like disingenuous for us not to report on these things, whether we go deep or not or whatever, but we have to report on it. So we had a report this week of a person who works for Loan Shark Games. I'll just give first names. It doesn't matter. I mean, fully the name, maybe I shouldn't even mention. I won't mention any name. I'll not mention her name. I'll mention the president's name. So this person has accused Mike Selinker of having a toxic work environment. He would manipulate people. He was extremely unkind to people in the environment. He would hire certain people because of power imbalances. It was a very scathing take. And she worked at Loan Shark Games for Mike for like 11 years, I believe it was, some quite a big time. And this went on the whole time she has left the company, and she put out her story on medium.com. And then within a day or two, Mike came out, and he came out. Mike Selinker, by the way, is a very noted person in the industry. He's been here forever. Loan Shark Games is his company, but he's worked with like everybody, all the old guard within hobby gaming. He then came out and made an apology, basically an absolute apology, and he said that he's going to be taking a number of steps to better himself and to better the environment at the company, taking unpaid leave of absence. He's going to stop posting on social media. He's going to step down and from all team lead positions, and he's sticking with therapy, which he is in. So, you know, social media is an interesting place because it gives people the ability to put out their stories like this. Because, you know, every company's got bad stories, but people in the past have never been able to put them out. I guarantee, I know of plenty of stories back on Wall Street that could have mirrored this too, and people did not have the ability to do so. I feel bad for this woman. I do not know her. I do though appreciate that Mike at least accepted this. He said that yes, this is true, and he's going to take steps to better himself. So of course some people will not accept that. Okay, I at least accept the fact that he's trying to do the right thing now. Should never have done this, but now he's going to try to go do the right thing. If he does, then maybe some good will happen here. If other people have been affected by this, maybe they'll feel that they can step out as well. So sad story. Fortunately, this time it's not a sexual assault and things like that, which, you know, that would have been, you know, another one of those nails in our coffin of, you know, aggravation in this industry. This is, again, not a good situation, of course. I'm hoping that, you know, we can have a good discourse when these things occur. Ignacy, anything you want to add to that? It's a very touchy subject. It's very hard to comment on.
Yes, it's difficult. It's sad. It's sad on every single level, and we all know that with my English, I can say something that I don't even mean. So I'll just say super sorry to hear about this news, and super sorry for the Gabby. I'm also super sorry for Mike that the things like that happens, because I generally believe that it is not his intention to behave bad. It is because his condition. He mentioned in his apology that he's going to the therapist. Like, it's super difficult. Like, I am myself the owner of the company. I myself deal with 40 employees. I wish my employees don't have a problem like that with me, and I hope they don't have. But this is super stressful and difficult situation for everyone involved. So super sorry, super sad, and difficult.
Let's get to strategy and tactics. All right. Kirk Lawton, who's K Lawton on the Geek, he says, you've mentioned a few times that when customs chooses to manually inspect your container, you have to pay that cost. Yes, you do. Can you share more about this? Does this cost you hundreds of dollars, thousands? Does it differ significantly by country? Do you budget for this according to the probability of it happening? This could be interesting insider information that you share without giving up any proprietary information. Yeah, so Kirk, the answer is it can, depending on the type of inspection, it's only inbound shipments that this would happen, right? So if goods are leaving a country, the country doesn't care, so to speak, right? They just get on a boat and they leave because it's going away. When something comes into the United States, right? This is where all of my shipments came, and many of Ignacy's shipments go. The issue then becomes the container comes in. There's paperwork to be done, and it can either go or it can say, well, we gotta do something here, extra here, a few $100s, or it goes on an extended inspection and they unload the whole thing, and like, oh, and who knows why? Because something in the paperwork made them say, I don't like this. You know, they scan all these containers. Maybe they saw something in it that they didn't like. Who knows? But then it can cost thousands, or I think I remember that one of these things cost me over $1,500, and that was 5 or so years ago. And board games, for some crazy reason, were getting flagged more than others. And one more thing.
Well, sir, your game was called Diamonds. What you want?
Diamonds, Revolver, you know, things like that. You know, maybe that was some of the things that they were flagging. One thing is, so while I was there and I was reporting this back to Gamma, and other publishers were saying the same thing. Haven't heard too much about this particular issue recently. We were going to go to Port Savannah, where many of the game containers come into, Savannah, Georgia, and we were going to go there and meet with the head of U.S. Customs and Border Control and talk to him and say, like, hey, this is us. We're good guys. This is what we do. The patterns are always the same. My containers come out of here. They're from this manufacturer. They come out of here. They're from this. It's always the same. Sure, we expect inspections, but just so you know, the patterns mean that we're on the up and up, right? I mean, it's not like some random container that you oh, well, we're going to put this through a crazy inspection thing. Just, and we've also heard that was a really good way of them starting to say, okay, you're good. All right, we're good. And yeah, it wouldn't hit you with those kinds of things. So we never ended up doing that. But even as recently as like last year, I told Stefan, the president of Gamma, that I would still go with him because, you know, at least I can represent, you know, indie game studios and talk to customers about it, because it still could be a problem.
Bad news. Gamma is busy because they have elections. Anyway. Anyway, I don't know the exact numbers, but I recall when I was discussing with Luke that the 1,500 is something that I heard as well. So it may be actually the case. And on top of that, to add to this thing, you're paying for different things. Like I had paid for warehousing my container when it was held. So they held my container. So already I had a delay. Then I had to pay for the additional inspection. I paid for some additional testing, and then I paid for the holding the container. Like I paid the whole exclusive price, even though it was like just random. They are just picking a random container just for the random test, and you are sponsoring as a publisher everything. Like I would expect, and I don't know how the economy in America works, but I would expect this is some like government staff. They are checking the stuff, and the government should pay for that. But no, publisher is paying for the whole operation of holding the container. It is unfair, in my opinion, why I have to pay it, but it happens, and it happened to me a couple of times already. So what Steven is saying, it may be true that we are somehow more often checked than other guys. I don't know, but even for the small publishers like Portal Games, if we already had a couple of situations that were held, this is like a statistically crazy, right? Like,
yep, absolutely crazy. Patrick Moore, who's at Distant Babel, he talks about theme in his question here. Have you ever had to retheme a game because the game was good, but the theme was not, or passed on a game solely due to theme? Have you seen themes that piqued your interest, but unfortunately the game wasn't very good? What's a theme you'd like to see used in a game that isn't out there? And do you have an intellectual property that you'd like to see a game made from? Do you know of one? So, I mean, yes, everything is like, of course, yes. My favorite example of a game I simply passed on due to theme. I'm like, guys, I can't do this. It was would have been a co-publication with Artipia Games. and I can't remember the name of the game, but the theme of the game was you were a manager
I remember that
of a
everywhere is
manager of a strip club. Paul is sitting next to me. We're in the hotel here. Do you remember the name of that game? I can't remember the name, but you're a manager of a strip club. And on the box cover, it wasn't revealing or anything like that. In fact, there were more men strippers than women strippers on the cover. I think it was like 4-3 if you were counting or something like that. But just in general, it's like, no, I'm not gonna put something out about managing a strip club. It's just not gonna be something. Joel Eddy, famous reviewer, I believe Joel Eddy said that the most offensive thing, because people were up in arms, people went crazy. Whatever, no, you can't do this. Oh, Tippy, you can't. Oh, and there it is. What is it called, Paula? It was called lap dance. That's crazy. Thank you. I got my assistant here feeding me information. So Joel Eddy got the game, reviewed the game, and he said the most offensive thing about this game is the gameplay. He goes, the game's not offensive. He goes, it's just a bad game. So I'm glad I didn't do the game. Ignacy, anything you passed on because of theme, or any themes you want to see, or anything like that? Any theme?
I wholeheartedly hate politics and everything that is involved in politics. So if we have any designer who is submitting to us a game about the politics, some elections, etc., I say no. So this is not that I'm offended. Like I hate it. I don't see it as entertaining, and I'm done with that. For the games that we change the theme, the perfect example is from this year, Dreadful Circus. Dreadful Circus, beautiful artwork, amazing theme right now. But before, when we get it from Bruno Faidutti, it was a game about dwarves trading gems, which is like the most generic fantasy idea for the game. Just a couple of dwarves exchanging gems. And so we said, Bruno, we like the gameplay, but it cannot be another game about dwarves and gems. And we came up with this idea for the Dreadful Circus, and it was a great decision. So yes, it happens sometimes, and sometimes it helps. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always asked about, is there a theme you want to see that's not out there, or an intellectual property? And I just, they're hard. I mean, there's been games about everything essentially, and all of a sudden, once in a while you do see something that's completely brand new, like Picture Perfect. I mentioned that at the top of the show. I mean, it's a game about taking photographs at an affair. And it's a deduction game. The whole thing is so different and new that perfect. I mean, it's a licensed game, so Arcane didn't come up with it, but they licensed it from overseas. Phenomenal game. So that's a great theme for a game that's brand new. But I couldn't think of it on the fly, right? I mean, that's not like somebody says, "What? Give me a theme you haven't seen done." I don't know. When I see it, I'll know if it's a good theme. All right, Kevin Knott with a K. He's at Glitch19. He asks, with the continued lack of faith in Gamma that Ignacy has, that seems to be coming from many areas of the board game industry, would it be possible for a new association to be created to replace Gamma? It seems that many current members of Gamma would jump at the chance to leave the failing Gamma and join a new and more productive association. I appreciate yeah, I think Ignacy created this question.
Yeah.
Are you Kevin Knott? Come on, tell me the truth. This is a pseudonym of Ignacy Chevichek. So actually this did come up like during some of the big Gamma controversy during Black Lives Matter, and there were people that were calling for the destruction of the industry. I don't believe that that's a good idea. It's sort of like calling for the destruction of a government because you don't like a few different things that are going on. I think the best way to do something is to change, to change the system, to change the way things work, but work within it. Get the right people in there and make notable changes. If you try to like say, okay, we're done with this, we're going to set something else, then you're going to probably end up with two organizations because the other one's just not going to go away. So I don't have lack of faith in Gamma. I think that people need to to try to work within it. And I think that the steps that Gamma has taken over the last year, especially with this new, everybody's included, all tiers of the industry, it's one industry association, not a publishers association, which is what it was. Now everyone's equal. Retailers are equal, media is equal, publishers are equal, distributors equal. They have, everybody's on the board like that. There's still going to be conflicts, there's still going to be issues, but at least now we're all represented in an equal way. I think that was a great thing they did. Let's see how it pans out.
Yeah,
Ignacy?
even Ignacy is not supporting the idea to finish the Gamma or to start a new organization. I just support over and over and over again the idea, the goal of the Gamma is to help our industry, not to have election every other month. So I support every program they are doing, every education, every seminars, every project to support people who want to grow in this industry and have no clue about some things. And we are discussing this in the podcast. Can Gamma train publishers in the logistics? Can they ask some specialists for seminars for the publishers how to deal with this container? Is Gamma helping us with this big crisis? Stephen was quoting Steve Jackson Games.
Yep.
They are saying this is existential issue right now. What Gamma is doing to help me? What Gamma is doing to help indie boards and cards? How they are passing knowledge, education, some assets to help us deal with these problems, because at the end of the day, there is 100 or 200 smaller publishers or medium-sized publishers, and each of us is dealing with these problems on their own. I have my Damian working in logistics, and Indie Boss has Travis working on the logistics, and we are all working very, very hard to find solution how to get these stupid containers to shores. Is a way for Gamma to make a board. Hey guys, this is the problem. This is how we can help you. Blah blah blah. And we don't have to a new organization. We just have the leadership to understand that they need to educate and add value to us.
Absolutely. Perfect answer. Now let's get over to playtesting. So Ignacy, we changed the format of playtesting now, didn't we? And what we did was we'll ask you guys a question one week, and then we, of course, we try to answer it too. You guys put up the information, and then we're going to talk about your answers. So that was what we did on the last one. We asked you a question: what's the average number of times you played a game in your collection? Ignacy, how did it go? What kind of answers did we get? I have it here on my screen. Do you want to read one? I read one. What do you think?
I think that you read because I don't speak English, but
okay.
Just a small brag section. I think the experiment went super awesome. Lots of answers from you, so we appreciate that. And once again, it was your idea that you want to hear yourself more, and it was great. And now Stephen will pick some of the answers. There is a lot of super interesting answers with my terrible English. I just don't read one sentence because it was like, my shelf of shame now exceeds 40% of my total collection. Dude, you need to start playing games. Like,
the last, I see the last, that's from Ann W.
Yeah, oh my God.
Ann SK Ader.
You need to play this game that you're buying. This is a terrible percentage.
Yes. Yeah, so we're not going to, maybe I can read most of the stuff. This is obviously an evolving portion of our podcast where we'll see how this all goes. But let me get to some of it. Kirk Lawton, he said, I'm sure the median number of plays for games in my collection is 1. For games that we like, probably 1 to 3 times a year. And then there are binge games like Crew being an extreme example that we play dozens of times in a week, or 70 plus in the case of Crew. In other words, no easy answer. I mean, I absolutely agree there. Chevy Dodd, you might know Chevy Dodd a little bit.
Yep.
He's the best, and he works with Portal. He's guessing only, I'm going to say 10. If I had to do the math, it might be a bit higher, but for the most part, I don't keep games in my collection I don't play. Not a bad idea, Chevy. The problem is some of those games only get played once a year or less, while others get played a few dozen times. Then if you count Star Realms, I have thousands of plays via phone, and both of these extremes would throw the median off. Everybody's talking in mathematical terms, the median, not even saying the average. John Knost, who's at Grish and why. I've been recording my plays since late 2014. So I have a lot of data to work with. Data. So there's no way I wanted to do the math of going through my complete history of log plays, add them all up, and then divide by the number of games. Instead, I figured I'd use my H index. What's that? Currently at 23, and take the average of those plays. But I also decided not to include plays of Magic the Gathering in that, because even though I stopped recording individual plays of the CCG years ago and only record sessions now, it's still the #1 played game on my list and has 4 times as many plays logged as the #2 game, which Stephen will be happy to know is That's Pretty Clever. Excellent, excellent game. So I took the sum of all my log plays of my 22 most played games after Magic and divided it by 22, get the average number of plays, 38.
And this is insanely high. Respect. This is like very not average, I think, in our industry.
No, I think that's right. Thank you for that great detailed work there, John. Good man. Derek O, who's at DJ at 70. Yeah, this is all over the place from low to very high. I definitely have some games that played only 1 to 3 times and others over 100. However, averaging that to 50 doesn't feel right. If I consider my batch of games that I enjoyed playing and giving the most attention, then the average of 30 times feels right to me. So I do primarily play solo because my gaming group is unreliable for regular sessions. Adam Brocker, who's at A Brocker, average for me is probably something like 1.5 times. There are others, outliers, but that's probably the average. I think that's going to be like, that's kind of like what I put, I think, in my collection. BJ Stats, I'm sorry, Gabriel Perez at Phenomtis. Board Game Stats is a useful app, BG Stats. This year, H index, so that's where I guess John also got his H index, is 6. And all time is 16. I have also played 48% of my own games. So sounds like 50% of his games are unplayed. Interesting.
Even 52.
Mindy Frankie, who's at Matt Macallo. Definitely hard to say. Favorite games are played more often, and as do shorter games. The long ones get played on the weekends or holidays. So much fewer times. Those we do like to rotate longer times. Let me see. So I would estimate
7 to 10.
7 to 10 plays per game. Very good. Seth Overdeer at Beerdoodle. I like that name. I'm not much into the cult of the news, so I tend to purchase fewer new games than I already own. I'd say on average right now it's probably 10 to 20, and that number is likely only to increase. Not bad. 10 to 20 is a lot. Kurt Van Hunneveld, who's at Vitruvian Gamer. I've seen that name around. 3450 logged plays and 841 games played gives me an average of 4.1 per game. There he goes. He got exactly, that's actually really good stats when people are logging every one of their plays of games. I
don't know what you're feeling, but I feel that we are talking to geeks.
We're talking to the ones that absolutely, well, but you know, in the same, group though, we've got the people that just buy games like the one at the bottom there, that, right? So we got a whole thing. Dave Millar, D Millar 71, if I excluded the games that I've only played once or twice, I'm not sure you should, then traded or sold, okay, yeah, because they were not a good fit, my average play count would be between 8 and 12. Very interesting. Mike Dando, who's at Loki 7, the average across my collection is just over 4. Wow. And then you said the one from Ann W, her shelf of shame exceeds 40% of her game collection, thanks to COVID though. So that's a reason. Hopefully she'll get some of those played. My average might be below 1 if I count unplayed games. So that was a really wide number. I mean, I think that was a great question and a great experiment, Ignacy. So maybe we'll get better at how we structure all that. But meanwhile, that was great. Thank you all so much. We're not going to ask another question, right? So next week we'll ask a question, or are we going to ask?
No. Today you're asking question to fans, so they can, so they have the whole week to answer, and then the next week we read their answers.
Oh, okay. That's how we're doing it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this is the Bonacore question for you this week. I did have one here just in case we were doing that. And my question to you this week is: in your board games, Do you keep the original plain cardboard white insert, or do you just immediately recycle them? Right? We're not talking about the fancy ones. We're not talking about the ones that got some print on it. You know, the original plain white cardboard inserts. You keep them or just recycle them?
If this counts like a tiebreaker for our predictions episode, I want to predict the answers right now.
What's your prediction?
My prediction will be that people are tossing them away.
No, and this is not a tiebreaker, but I predict that most people keep the white cardboard insert.
Oh my God, guys! Now you have my party. People who toss them, please answer this in the give, because I need to win this prediction.
Make sure you do not give away what your prediction is. And the reason is, I just think that not because they mean anything. We've always talked about the reason for putting a cardboard insert into a game is to protect the components from the time it leaves the factory to the time it gets to you. You don't want too much air in there.
And then you toss it away.
But people sort of want not stuff to shake around when it's on their shelves.
All
so
tossers,
they keep it.
All tossers, please go to Board Game Geek. I need to win this prediction.
All right, we're gonna bet a beer or a tea. Anyway, great one. Right now, Ignacy's going to create a thread on Board Game Geek, and we are going to report back next week in episode 218 what your answer to in your board games. Do you keep the original plain white cardboard inserts, or do you just immediately toss them, throw them out, recycle them, hopefully?
Answer smart.
Go over to the Guild on BGG and find our playtesting thread for this question and post your answer there, and then we'll discuss next week. That was great, Ignacy. Meanwhile, while Ignacy's doing all that hard work there, we're going to go to final scoring. Thank you so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or to watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. To ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment, you must post them in the correct thread in our guild on Board Game Geek. And by the way, listeners, we are making big headway. Sure, we have plenty of questions for a while, but please keep giving us, questions, and then we're going to do contests and things like that. So make sure you give us some good questions there so we constantly get them. We're making big headway. To answer our question to you from our playtesting segment, also go to our guild on Board Game Geek and look for the thread with this episode's question. Board Games Insider has a Facebook page, but please like us there. Also on Facebook, please like Ignacy's page and Steven's page, which is /Portal Publishing and /Podfather Gaming. Our websites are portalgamesus.com and podfathergaming.com. Go there, sign up for the newsletters, and get up-to-the-minute information on what's happening at Portal Games and with the Podfather. On social media, speak directly to Ignacy and Steven. Twitter, @PortalGamesUS, @Podfather Gaming. On Instagram, it's the same. And on the YouTube channels, it's Portal Games Movies, Portal Games Gameplays, and the Podfather of Gaming. Ignacy, tell me, what is I got to mention your TikTok, channel now.
TikTok, Portal Games US.
So on TikTok, it's called Portal Games US. Okay. This may inspire me to get a TikTok channel now.
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
But I'm going to only dance. I'm just going to dance. I got the moves like Jagger.
Guys, if you're not watching it on YouTube, you're making a mistake, because what I just saw is freaking amazing.
I always like to say, you've heard this song, I got the moves like Jagger. I always like to say I got the moves like Jägermeister. When I get drunk, I got great moves. And Paula is over there laughing, silently laughing her head off at my moves. We hope to see you at an upcoming convention. Make sure you come so that you can see me and then hopefully Ignacy next year. Board Games Insider is professionally edited by Matthew Jude from This Game is Broken podcast. If you'd like him to edit your podcast, please contact him on Twitter or drop him an email at thisgameisbrokenpodcast@gmail.com. Also, the great voice you hear for the intro, outro, and in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Ignacy, we are at the end of the episode. Do you have something cool that you want to tell the fans? I see you wrote something here.
I'm just not sure if I mentioned it already. We have a Black Friday sale at portalgamesus.com.
I think you might have mentioned it, but yes, that is good. In fact, what I'm going to do right now, I am copying portalgamesus.com, copy, paste into browser, and I will go look at this sale.
But it starts on 25th, on a Black Friday. It's starting next week.
Oh, well, I'll still have it.
25th.
I'm one of those people that my browser, I literally have 25 or more tabs open at any time. So it's going to sit there until the sale shows up.
Nice.
And then I'll look at it. I know I waste so many computer resources. Yeah, that's my special thing, I'm telling you. Bonacor's management of his browser window is ridiculous.
You have the best computer probably, so it will deal with that, no problem.
But I've got a really, really, really good computer. So yes, it deals well. Anyway, that's the end of the show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye-bye.